Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 350 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So I am back from a really beautiful, almost 2 weeks in Europe. 7 nights. We did 7 nights in Positano, Italy, and then we went on to 5 nights in London. And that's actually where I rang in my 50th birthday. Not too shabby, if you ask me. But for some reason, I love that I'm 50. There's something so cool about it. It feels really good. I feel like I have a fresh new start for the next 50 years. In fact, I journaled this morning that the next 50 years is Heidi 2.0. And Heidi 2.0 has upgrades that are amazing. And also, it fixed some of the bugs that Heidi 1.0 had. Now, I encourage you to try seeing what the version 2.0 of you would look like. And don't worry, I'm going to do an entire podcast on that coming up. I think you'll like it. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It's never too late to reinvent yourself, which I love. But on to today's topic. Have you ever been unhappy? That's a silly question, of course. Of course you've been unhappy. We all have. And probably we all have ranges of unhappy to happy every single day. It's just simply part of our human experience. But I had some real downtime to think over the last few weeks, and I realized that some really big things about the times when I was feeling a little unhappy and just what was going on in my head to cause it. Now, notice I said what's going on in my head to cause it, because a lot of us think it's because someone else did something or didn't do something that's the reason we're unhappy. No, it's all about what's going on in your own head. It's all about you and what you're focusing on. It's all about me and what I'm focusing on. I'll give you an example. I have a big immediate family. There are 5 of us siblings, and both of my parents are still healthy and active, for which I'm very grateful. So as I was saying earlier, my 50th birthday was on a Sunday while we were in London. Now, my mom and dad and 2 of my sisters don't celebrate birthdays because of their religion, which is fine. So birthdays were never a big deal growing up, but we do usually acknowledge each other on those days. So I am having an amazing time for my birthday. How could I not? I'm having a great time. We have friends that were with us, and Molly reached out to me, of course. My big sister did, and my mom all sent me texts, but I hadn't heard from my dad or my brother. Now, I know my other sister isn't going to acknowledge it because she never has for 50 years, so I don't expect her to start now, but everyone else usually does. So here I am, having a great time, living my best life in London, but I'm also feeling a little hurt because I'm focusing on something that isn't making me feel good. I have so many awesome things to be focusing on that are amazing, but I'm not choosing those things. I'm choosing to think about the things that are making me feel a little down. Now, it's not my brother or my dad that hurt my feelings. It's me. And look, you may be thinking, well, you have the right to feel bad if your dad and brother don't acknowledge your birthday. And yes, I'm human, so I'm going to notice it. But I do not have to allow myself to dwell on it and make myself sad. Now, I can say I wish they would have, but they didn't. So what can I think right now that makes me not feel bad? Well, how about focusing on the people that did acknowledge my birthday instead of the people that didn't? We so often want to focus on the bad. We want to focus on that. Our autopilot brain wants us to focus on the people that didn't acknowledge us. But how about instead we focus on the people that did? Now, side note, my brother did come through a day late, and it was kind of fun to get an unexpected birthday wish after the fact. See, I get to decide how I think about things, and you do too. You see, when we're feeling unhappy, it's often because we're focusing on what we don't want instead of focusing on what we do want. Or we're focusing on what we don't have instead of focusing on what we do have. And a lot of times when we're mad at someone else or blaming someone else for our unhappiness, it's because we're focusing on what they didn't do instead of all the good things that they do. My little sister, Molly, was telling me she talked to one of her best friends this week. They've been friends since they were in their first year of college, so for over 10 years. Now they live in different cities and they live very different lives. But when they connect, it's like nothing ever changed. But you see, Molly knows that she's going to have to be the one that reaches out. She'll be the one that makes the phone call to connect. She said for a minute she was thinking, man, I would love to talk to my friend. I really wish she would call me. But then she thought, wait a minute, I would love to talk to my friend, so why don't I just pick up the phone and call her? And that's exactly what she did. And they had a wonderful conversation, like nothing was ever missing. And her friend told her, I hope you never stop calling, because I know I'm not good at it and I've just been so busy, and I love, love, love you, and I love talking to you all the time. Now, Molly could be hurt because her friend never calls, but she knows it's not because she doesn't love her. You see, she isn't focusing on what her friend doesn't do. She's focusing on what she does do, which is always be there for if she needs it, and also is always a bright spot in her life. She recognizes that there are connectors, and there are those that are just happy to connect when someone reaches out. Every one of us plays our own role in life and with the people around us. Now, you may be the connector. Don't ever stop being that. Take it from someone who isn't necessarily always the connector. Those of us that aren't big connectors love those of you that are. Where can you improve your own happiness by focusing on something positive instead of something negative? I mean, it works with every single area of your life. Your husband or your wife is going to not do things you wish they would. Nagging them isn't going to fix that. Noticing and thanking them and dwelling on the things that they do well will go a way, way further way than nagging them for the things that they don't do well. Same thing goes for the kids or our parents or our friends or coworkers, anyone you're interacting with. And look, if something is really important to you and you really want someone to do something, you better make sure they know it. Otherwise, they have to try to read your mind, and we aren't good at that. So now we drop the ball and are in trouble, and we aren't even sure why. The point here is we're each in control of our own happiness. Tony Robbins always says, what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. And our autopilot brain is always going to look for the drama and the negative. That's just how it's programmed. And that's why so many of us are running around unhappy a lot of the time. So we have to be intentional, because that's when we stop and say, wait a minute, this isn't feeling good to think this thought. Now, I didn't want to ruin my birthday by being upset about who didn't acknowledge it. That's actually really silly. Once I realized that, I just focused on how happy it made me to hear from the ones who did. My challenge to you is, when you're feeling unhappy, take a step back and ask, what is it that I'm focusing on right now? Because it doesn't feel good. And it's always going to be about your thoughts. A lot of times you'll find there's a flip side where you can tell yourself, wait a minute, look at all the things he does do right. Or look at all the people who did wish me happy birthday. Or maybe even acknowledging that, hey, I never made it clear that that's important to me, so the next time I will be sure to do that so that they know. Giving other people grace is one of the best things you can do for your own happiness. The other best thing is giving yourself grace. It's a short life we have on this earth. Being happy for a majority of it is more within our control than we've ever been taught. I promise you that. Share this with 3 people who have shown you grace. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.